Hello, my friends. How are you? I feel like I haven't gone live in like 100. Whoops. How about those tech difficulties? How's everybody doing? It's so good to be back. I have been MIA. I have not been doing lives. I think I missed last week. I was traveling. I went to visit my brother in Colorado and my sister-in-law and my little baby nephew, and it was fantastic. Today, we're going to talk about non-alcoholic beverages. This is something that comes up pretty regularly. People ask me, what are my thoughts? What do I think about it? What are my feelings about it? Is it good? Is it bad? All that kind of stuff. We're going to jump into that in just a minute. For those of you who have not met me, I'm Angela Pugh. I am the host of the Addiction Unlimited podcast, where I just made #1 addiction podcast for 2020 and beyond, they said, which was incredible. So much fun, such a joy to get on those lists. It always excites me when I find one. So anyway, I'm also a master coach, a recovering alcoholic, and the founder of My Recovery Toolbox, which is chock full of tools to keep your recovery strong. Hi, Preston. Thank you for hanging out. And for those of you catching us on the replay, thank you also for spending some time with me today and listening to all this good info about non-alcoholic drinks and our thoughts and feelings. So one thing I want to talk about too, tomorrow's episode comes out and we're talking about addicted state of mind versus recovery state of mind. And you guys are going to love this one. There's some really good actionable tips in there. You know, we've been doing double down on your recovery, double the episodes, double the support, double the strategies. And all I ask is that you double your recovery efforts. We've been doing that for 5 weeks, and this is our final week of double episodes. And I hope you loved that too. So let's put this up from Preston. Thank you, sir. Boom, boom, pow. I love that. So anyway, tomorrow's episode, recovery state of mind, addicted state of mind. Which one are you into? Which one are you paying more attention to? And how can you make changes if you're stuck in the one you don't want to be in? All right. Now let's get back to our topic about these non-alcoholic drinks. This is such a tough question because honestly, I can't tell you, it's not like there's one answer for every single person. I can't tell you like, yes, this is good, or no, this is bad, or yes, this is okay for you. You really have to know yourself. And you hear me talk all the time about really being clear on who you are and who you want to be in your sobriety. And that is so important in this conversation too, because you have to know what's okay with you. And you have to be able to be really honest with yourself about that, right? If you're drinking a non-alcoholic beer and it does bother you or it's making you feel some type of way, you have to be comfortable enough with yourself to stop and put it down and drink something else. I can definitely share my experience with you and how this worked for me. I tried drinking non-alcoholic beers super early in my sobriety, literally probably in my first 6 months. And many of you know I was a bartender for many years. I continued bartending well into my sobriety because it's the only job I ever had. I didn't know how to do anything else. And it really didn't bother me to be a bartender. I know some people that would be really hard, but for me, it wasn't a big deal. You know, when I lived in Los Angeles in my 20s, bartending all over Hollywood and Beverly Hills, I always worked with other bartenders who were sober. So I think it just didn't seem like a big deal to me to be a sober bartender. But anyway, I was at the bar with a bunch of my friends, and I think I had that thing where I just wanted to fit in. And I know that's something that we struggle with when we get sober. I just wanted to look like everybody else that was sitting around me. So I got non-alcoholic beer. And I was a beer drinker. My whole drinking life, I was a beer drinker. Like later, as my illness progressed, I definitely started adding other things. You've heard me talk about like tequila is the greatest love of my life because it really was for many years in there. And I drank Rumplemans at the very end, which was the beginning of the end for me. But for all the years before that, I really was primarily a beer drinker. And so beer was hard for me. So I got a non-alcoholic beer and I'm sitting there with my friends and I'm drinking it. And it didn't, like at first it didn't bother me. I would definitely say I drank it just as fast as I drank a regular beer. So I kept drinking them and kept drinking them and kept ordering them. I'm going to the bathroom every 10 minutes. I mean, it was just like I was drinking. And at some point, I hit this place where I got a little almost irritated because I was doing all the drinking, but I wasn't getting the buzz, and I was an alcoholic. So for me, drinking those beers and going through that motion and had an end result, right? It ended with a buzz and I wasn't getting the buzz. And it did kind of irritate me. And I thought at that point, I was like, non-alcoholic beer just isn't for me. I don't need to do it. It didn't necessarily make me want to drink, but I think I could have gotten there if I had kept drinking them. So I just made the decision for myself to not drink non-alcoholic beer. I have had clients in the past that have had non-alcoholic beer and then find out that it does have a tiny percentage of alcohol in it, and that can be upsetting for some people. So again, this is really more about knowing your boundaries and your threshold and what bothers you and what doesn't bother you. There's not a cookie cutter answer for every single person of what's right and what's wrong. But you have to be able to be honest with yourself and understand, just like I did. Like, I just knew that it made me uncomfortable. It didn't make me crave. It didn't make me run to the bar and order a real beer. None of that happened. It wasn't dramatic at all. It just made me feel a little weird. So I made the choice for myself to not drink it. But you have to be able to make that choice for yourself. The other thing I want to say about this is, you guys, it's not about what is in my glass, right? Or what is in my bottle. It's not about what liquid it is, okay? It doesn't matter if you're drinking a bottle of water or a bottle of beer, right? As an alcoholic, it's about my relationship with the liquid that's in the glass. So I would urge you to also explore, like, what is the thing that's making you want to have a non-alcoholic beer or a non-alcoholic wine over just having a flavored soda water or a juice or whatever your thing is. Like, what is it for you that makes you want to have that specific liquid in your glass? Because that's the more concerning part to me. It's not that you want to have something pretty or drink out of a pretty glass. Like, I get that, but it doesn't matter what the liquid is. So if you're really struggling with this or thinking a lot about having something, an NA beer or wine or one of the spirits, there's so many things now. I would really urge you to look at that. And why does it matter what's in your glass? Because that's not the important part. The other thing I would say for me is I would never be okay like with something that mimicked the flavor of tequila, right? Like, the beer didn't bother me that much, but I think if I had something non-alcoholic that actually tasted like tequila, that would be challenging for me. And I think just because it's a sensory thing, right? Like, you associate those flavors with certain events or the lifestyle or being out or being in a bar, like all that stuff kind of goes together. And I don't think I would do very well if I had a non-alcoholic anything that mimicked the flavor of tequila. It just wouldn't be good for me. I think I would probably end up with a drink in my hand. And I don't know, I've always wondered this, if the non-alcoholic wines, if they really taste like their alcoholic counterparts. Like, does a non-alcoholic Merlot really taste like an alcohol Merlot? I don't know. And some of the spirits, like, I feel like they have some gins now or rums that are non-alcoholic. Like, do they taste like the other ones? Because that would probably creep me out a little bit. And that's probably what creeped me out a little bit about the beer. So anyway, that's my take on non-alcoholic drinks. It really is like everything else in recovery. This is a deeply personal choice. You have to decide what's okay for you. And you have to be willing and capable to be 100% honest with yourself about this. Like, don't feel like if it makes you feel some type of way, don't feel like, oh, I can't say anything because I'm being weak or whatever the nonsense is. Don't fall into that trap. There is no reason to test yourself if there's no reason to test yourself. It doesn't matter what liquid is in the glass, right? Just make sure you're okay. Protect yourself, protect your sobriety. And that's all I got today. I hope you guys love tomorrow's episode. It'll be live first thing in the morning. And if you need me for anything, it's hello@angelapugh.com. Thanks a lot, you guys. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.